Here we go. All right. In a stunning development with the number 1 pick, Mel Kiper Jr. has the Chicago Bears taking Caleb Williams.
What?
QB,
Didn't see that coming.
USC. Now, here's where this gets interesting because I'm wondering whether or not we are ready to go from pencil to pen. Maybe not Sharpie, but pencil to pen on 2 and 3. He has Washington taking Jaden Daniels, quarterback LSU, and New England at 3 taking Drake May, QB UNC. Are we ready to go from pencil to pen on this? Do we feel like Jaden Daniels is in at number 2 to Washington, guys?
No, and Jaden Daniels has a visit with the Washington Commanders early next week. We're going to learn a lot about, how the Commanders view the quarterbacks in this class based on what happens in the coming weeks. But they've been playing it close to the vest in terms of, not letting people know exactly which way they're leaning. But I have a feeling at this stage in the process, Adam Peters, their new general manager, knows where he wants to go. And I just think that it makes so much sense based on the offense that they're going to run under Cliff Kingsbury to go the direction of Drake May. Mm-hmm. With the air raid principles that Mac Brown had at his offense at Carolina, knowing the pedigree from Drake May, knowing the family background, but also knowing that his high school coach was Josh McCown down at Myers Park High School in Charlotte, and then having Phillip Rivers as a mentor. It just seems like all of the things are aligning for Washington to take Drake May because he is more of a seamless fit into what they want to do from a football philosophy standpoint on the offensive side of the ball. Now, listen, they would be well within their rights to take Jaden Daniels. I think he's a fine player. There are some questions about his frame, his stature, and being able to hold up in an 18-week regular season. But, I think this is where the draft starts because based on this decision, we could see some big shakeups in the top 5 of this draft, which would lay the groundwork for what we see for the remainder of the first round.
No doubt, which is why I'm not ready to put it in pen either. Not only because I'm not 100% sold on the fact that Washington is going to take Jaden Daniels, I'm also not 100% sold on the fact that New England's going to be picking at number 3. We have a lot of quarterback-needy teams that could potentially move up. We know the New England Patriots are in rebuild mode. I know that they desperately need a quarterback, but if they don't get the quarterback that they deem to be the right fit, I could absolutely see them trading out of that number 3 spot, getting a bunch of capital to build their team in other ways.
Very interesting. So Mel has Arizona, Marvin Harrison Jr. at 4, wide receiver, Ohio State. There has been some conversation recently about whether or not he actually is the top receiver in the draft, whether or not Malik Neighbors out of LSU, Rome Odunze out of Washington could potentially jump him. It feels unlikely that would happen at this point. And then Mel at number 5, this is the biggie. He has a trade between the Chargers and the Vikings. In Mel Kiper's latest mock draft, ESPN.com, right now, he has the Chargers getting pick 11 and 23, as well as a 2025 first rounder, and the Vikings getting pick number 5 and using it on Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah, I don't see the Minnesota Vikings giving up all that draft capital for J.J. McCarthy.
Really?
I don't see them giving up all of that draft capital just to get the 4th best quarterback in this class. I'm with Smalls on this one. I think there's a huge move that we're in store for early on in night 1 of the draft, and I think it's about the Minnesota Vikings trying to get up to that 3rd overall pick and swapping with the New England Patriots. And just to add more validity, more context to the point that you were making about New England not picking at 3, Gerard Mayo, their new head coach, he says to our very own Mike Reese, and I quote, "I'm not asking for patience, but I kind of am. It's a process. It's not only about the quarterback. Obviously, you want to have QB1 and build around him, but it doesn't always happen when you want it." I think the New England Patriots are laying the groundwork to their fan base that we might be in the business of trading out of 3 just because of how many premium draft picks we can get for that slot and potentially getting a quarterback along the process early on in the draft this year that we can, transition to, that we can redshirt maybe in year 1 as a part of this process. So maybe you don't get an elite quarterback prospect. Maybe you don't get one of the big 3. Maybe you get the 4th or 5th best quarterback, but you pick up, 2 or 3 extra premium picks in order to do so. To me, I think that's what Gerard Mayo and Elliott Wolf are setting up for in New England because, let's face it, this is a roster that needs a lot of talent influx.
Let's make that trade then. Is the trade that Mel proposed to get number 5 one that we think New England would make at 3? 11, 23, and the 2025 first rounder from the Vikings. Does New England trade out of 3 for that?
Yes.
Okay, so they make that trade. So in this scenario,
yes, absolutely.
Okay, and in that case, then why wouldn't you try to jump up to number 3 instead of 5?
Yeah, that's my point.
Because
though.
New England may not make the deal. I think it goes back to which of the guys does New England like better.
Which quarterback is on the clock. If Drake May is there when New England picks, then I think that they would take Drake May. But if Jaden Daniels is the quarterback, I think New England would trade out of that spot, and they would allow Minnesota to then move up. And if you're Minnesota, it makes all the sense in the world. I get to have an LSU quarterback and Jaden Daniels throwing to an LSU receiver and Justin Jefferson, the best in the game. And then I've got Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, and Aaron Jones in my backfield. It just feels like it's a fit for what Kevin O'Connell wants to do. I'm not sure that Jaden Daniels is a fit from a scheme standpoint, from a cultural standpoint with the New England Patriots and where they're at. So it just, I would say this. I think they can get a ransom for that number 3 overall pick, especially if they don't have conviction on the guy that's there. And when it comes to the Jaden Daniels of it all, the thing that I am most concerned with, the thing that I am skeptical about is the frame, is the stature. He's not a very big guy, didn't weigh in at the scouting combine. To me, that's a red flag. I think he was around 210 pounds at his pro day. That's great. But, I just wonder how much weight he can add to that frame. Because I would say this, being a 210-pound quarterback at 6'4" ain't going to cut it in the National Football League.
Evan, as our resident New England Patriots fan, how would you feel if they traded out of that number 3 spot and didn't get one of these quarterbacks?
Well, my mind is racing here with something, because I'm glad you asked that, because now I'm starting to think, could New England make that deal? Because I don't want them to trade out of 3. I think they should just take one of these quarterbacks, right? Whoever's left between the 2 guys, Daniels and May. Could they trade out of 3, get the pick the trade that Mel suggested that CC said they would have to make it 3, and then trade back up to 5? Could they then give 11 and 23 for 5 with the Chargers and get McCarthy at 5?
I don't think you have to get McCarthy at 5. I think McCarthy goes closer to 10 than he is at 5.
Oh, with Minnesota out of the mix, he falls.
They do the waiting thing like they did with Mac?
I think they, well, I'm not going to say they can wait at 11 and get him. I still think you probably got to get in the top 10 to get the 4th best quarterback off the board, but that guy is probably going to go somewhere in the 7, 8, 9 range. I don't think that guy is going to go at number 5. So I think that there is an opportunity for New England to pick up, 3 premium draft picks between the 2 ones Minnesota would give them this year and a 1 next year. And you still have an opportunity to get back in the top 10 and take J.J. McCarthy, a guy that you can then redshirt and sit behind Jacoby Brissett.
In that scenario, I'm all in on that. Now, Joe...
You're all in on that as a Patriots fan.
Well, if you tell me... Okay, so what do I like about J.J. McCarthy? 2 things. 1, played for Harbaugh. 2, wins games. Right? Like, I don't need flashy. Like, at its core, Patrick Mahomes wins games. That's what he does more than anything else, right? So if you're telling me I'm picking up a 2nd first-rounder next year, I'm manipulating the draft this year where I get J.J. McCarthy, and I don't have to play him. That's a big part of this year. I don't want to play him in year 1.
You don't have to because you have Jacoby Brissett.
And if I don't take him top 3, I don't have to play him. If you take a guy top 3, you probably have to play him.
Probably.
Right? So, yeah, you're presenting me a scenario that I'm interested in. I enter next year with 2 firsts. I get a quarterback, and are you telling me I still have an extra pick?
Yeah, you still have number 23.
Because I'm gonna give you 11 and a 3rd or whatever it is.
Mid-round pick, yeah.
Yeah, I'm in on that. Joe Shane of the Giants. Now, here's where we get a twist on this. Joe Shane of the Giants, their general manager, told Albert Beer of SI.com, quote, "We have multiple needs. We are going into year 3. People are assuming we're going quarterback, but we have other needs. If the quarterbacks go 1 through 4, then we're getting the 2nd best position player, not quarterback at 6, which is okay, too." Does that throw off this scenario in terms of all these possible trades we're laying out here?
No, because I don't think the Giants are going with a quarterback in their 1st-round pick.
They're not one of the teams that could jump up past New England in that scenario.
No, I don't think they're doing that. I think they're going to go with Malik Neighbors if he's still there on the board. He's a guy that's explosive. He's dynamic. You saw him talking about how he feels like he can help the New York Giants solve the riddle of what's going on at the quarterback position, help solidify that, help stabilize that. So I think the Giants are going with him, barring something completely unforeseen. And we know that there is going to be a team that's trading up into the top 5. We know that's going to happen. So they're anticipating that too. That's baked into that. But I think they're locked in on Malik Neighbors.
See, I view comments like that, and I don't believe anything that anyone says this time of year.
Yeah.
I totally have fallen for the smoke before, and I could absolutely see the New York Giants being a team that's putting it out there like, oh, yeah, we're not desperate for a quarterback. But meanwhile, they're scheming behind the scenes, figuring out what sort of package do we need to put together to make sure that we get our quarterback.
Now, to continue here on Mel Kiper's mock draft 4.0, here's where it gets even juicier. So we just talked about the top 4 quarterbacks, where they're going. Well, how about this? Mel has, in the second round of the draft, the New York Giants trading up with Carolina, taking Bo Nix, quarterback, Oregon, 33 overall. And he has the Rams trading up with their fellow LA team, the Chargers, at number 37 overall, and drafting Michael Penix Jr. So many people have 5/6 quarterbacks in the first round. Mel has 4, and then those other 2 dropping into the second rounds.
Let me tell you what ain't gonna happen. Michael Penix Jr. falling out of the first round. And we had Shefty
6th quarterback drafted.
And we had Shefty on last week, and he was just talking about the prospects of Michael Penix Jr. The Atlanta Falcons had him in for a workout over the weekend, and they were skeptical that he would be there when they pick him in the second round. Michael Penix Jr. will be a first-round pick. And I struggle to see a scenario where he falls out of the teens. To me, he's the 4th best quarterback in his class. The only concerns about him is his health. He's had 2 season-ending injuries, and when you have those types of injuries, when you have one to your shoulder, when you have one to your knee, teams are going to pay extra attention to it, and they're going to bake that in there. Now, there will be teams that have him undraftable because of the injury history, but it only takes one team to fall in love.
Undraftable?
Yeah, there will be teams
Like
that will
off the board?
Yeah, because of the injuries.
Wow.
It's that strong, those injuries?
Well, when you talk about to your shoulder and to your knee, season-ending injuries for a quarterback, yeah.
Wow.
Those are significant.
Wow.
Teams will take them off the board.
Are we getting a little bit of
I don't think they should.
Right.
I'm not saying that they should, but just knowing that there are some NFL teams that are going to be more conservative when it comes to certain positions. And, of course, everybody is hypersensitive when it comes to quarterbacks.
Sure.
But I think the backstop for Michael Penix Jr. is somewhere in the teens, probably 13 to the Las Vegas Raiders. Somewhere in the mid-teens is where I think –